Everyone, this is Katie Groves here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my experience growing up in MKUltra run private schools. I was inspired to do this by some comments someone made on my channel just a bit ago, directing me towards something called the Hampstead cover-up, which was an alleged cover-up of satanic ritual abuse in a London school. And I definitely think the SRA sounds valid. I realized that I hadn't talked about my experience growing up in child trafficking and mind control schools, so I thought I would make a video about that now. It's difficult for me to make. I have not done a lot of integration around this stuff compared to some of my other traumas that I have spoken of on YouTube, so I'm shaky. I'll just give a brief overview. My academic history begins that I can remember at 4 in a preschool that I was supposedly sent to starting at the age of 2. And supposedly I was taken out of that at 5 and sent to a private elementary school from the ages of 5 until 10, after which I had a year in which I was not in school, and based on my recollections, I was being trafficked full-time. I was then sent to a public magnet school in the 6th grade, and then for 7th and 8th grade, I was out of school and was nominally homeschooled, taking minimal online classes while mostly being sold and reprogrammed for dysfunction and suicide. In the 9th grade, I was sent to a couple different schools, a private school and a magnet high school, under dysfunction programming designed to get me to fail, and under heavy drugs. I was then out of school for the 2nd semester of 9th grade, and then entered community college at 15, which I enrolled in successfully for 1 semester and part of a 2nd semester. Then, at the end of the 2nd semester, I had a breakdown due to programming and trauma, was forcibly addicted to crystal meth, and then repeatedly enrolled in and taken out of that community college as part of my dysfunction and suicide programming designed to break me down. I've then since attempted to go back to school in recovery. It has not worked out, and I'm now putting that on hold until I am more healed. So, where does the MKUltra run school thing fit in here? Well, so far I have uncovered that the preschool I was sent to was a front for child trafficking and ritual abuse, mind control programming, etc., as was the elementary school that I went to. The elementary school was a K through 12 school actually, but I just attended their kindergarten and then 2nd through 5th grade as I skipped 1st. Both of these schools were extremely sick, and the few memories I have give me conclusive evidence of their involvement. In the preschool, there was torture programming. I witnessed things that I know to be part of MK. And there were elaborately staged gaslighting attempts, I guess I would say, to get me to believe that the other children didn't want me around. And I remember feeling very alienated and alone. There's also some weird sexual behavior among the children that I would say went beyond the norm of a normal preschool situation. I know that children are known to display some kind of sexual behavior towards each other young, but this went beyond the norm. My memories of teacher-involved perpetration, other than a few things at the preschool, really start with the private elementary school, where the teachers I know were involved in very sick things. There was child sexual abuse, child pornography. Children were trafficked in from afar and may have been trafficked in locally also, but I know there were children trafficked internationally who were terribly abused and murdered there. There is also forced cannibalism, forced perpetration. I was forced to engage in sexual abuse with other children, and I was forced to program other children. And that will segue into a testimony I plan to make soon, specifically about my traumas being forced to program others and what it looked like for me in recovery coming out of that. The magnet school that I attended in 6th grade was not, to my knowledge, MK Ultra run. It was a public school that had limited admissions. It's kind of a weird thing how magnet schools work. But was much more in the open, and it was a part of a local school that was open to everyone. Students attended that on the bottom floor, while students attended the magnet program on the top floor. I do remember that there were kids there who were programmed, and I had a family member who was programmed who attended that school also, as well as I think another one who did for a short time before being relocated. So while I don't believe that school was exclusively MK, I know that there was definitely a presence of MK program children there. And the same thing can be said for the high school. I remember my brief experience at the high school to be even more intensive in that way. The private school that I attended briefly in 9th grade also had a lot of programmed kids. I have not explored those memories enough to know if that school was exclusively MK Ultra run, although parts of me indicate that it was. That's something I'll have to explore more later. I don't really know all of why I'm making this video right now. I just felt inspired to share. I was waiting to do this, I think, until I was more healed around it. It's something I still struggle with deeply. The big trauma that I go back to with my elementary school was a little girl, another student, who I was supposed to program. I was ordered to program. Who I was infatuated with and really deeply cared for. I would say I loved. And I tried to save her by undermining her programming through very convoluted means. I did this with multiple kids. I tried to help everybody, and I tried to undercut everyone's programming. That was kind of my thing. That was my way of surviving, my way of trying to help others and give life meaning, was to try and subvert programming as a child programmer. Anyways, this one girl in particular I tried to save. After a couple years, I got found out, and it was really, really bad. It was unbelievably traumatic for me. I can only imagine what it was like for her. I didn't see her for a long time. When I did again, she was completely different. She had been reprogrammed. So had her entire family. I was made to believe that what I had done was a horrible mistake and had resulted only in more pain for her. I do not believe that now. I believe that every act of kindness that one does within that space is for good, even if it results in perpetrators retaliating by causing that person temporarily more pain. That doesn't mean I ever want to be in that position again or have to go through that again. Last I knew of that girl, she was a drug addict, had been programmed for dysfunction and suicide. I don't know what's happened to her now. I hope that she's okay. Although, of course, I doubt she is, because most people are very much not okay when they go through this. And most people, from what I know, don't make it out. At least not while they're still living. So that's a big block for me, in the sense that when I do try to access these memories, I'm continuously brought back to that one. So that's something that I'm healing slowly over time. And I hope that as I move through that memory and heal that, I'll be able to move through other memories as well. Okay, that's all I have for this video. I hope that it was actually informative, or brought healing to somebody. If you have had experiences with mind control programming in schools, especially private schools, I would love to hear about that. It's something I'd really like to connect with other survivors about, but only, of course, if it is safe for you to do so, and if you feel that I'm a safe person to talk to, or might be a safe person to talk to about that. So you're welcome to leave a comment sharing anything you like about it, or about anything in general, and you can send me an email if you want. Also, I'll put a link to my email in the description below. Okay, thanks.